Hello everyone, welcome back to Movie Recapped Girl. Strap in for a mind-bending journey into an unknown as we explain the shocking sci-fi thriller, The Signal. Nick, Haley, and Jonah, who are students at MIT, are heading to California on a summer road trip. The guys are giving Haley a hand with her move, but her plan to stay in a different state for a whole year is causing some stress with Nick, as they're unsure about the future of their relationship. Nick's muscular dystrophy makes him feel like he's a burden, which has created a gap between them that Haley can't stand. But the three of them still try to have a blast on the trip, stopping off to eat at different food places, checking out the aquarium, and Nick even shows a little kid how to win a toy from the claw machine. While they're chilling in a motel one night, Nick gets a text asking if he's all worked up. So the boys used to mess around with this hacker called Nomad. But when Nomad got into the MIT servers, the school almost kicked the guys out, thinking it was their fault. Nick jolts Jonah awake, and they both huddle over Nick's computer. More teasing and confusing messages from Nomad pop up, so they fire back a warning that they're gonna blow his cover. Nomad shoots back with a video of himself in the room. He got it by breaking into their laptop. The boys are super mad, so they get straight to work, tracking down Nomad's IP. They find out he lives in Nevada, which is on their route anyway. The following day, while they're driving again, Nomad sends them a snap of their car that he grabbed from a security camera. This makes Haley tell the boys to quit messing with the guy. Later on, when they pull over at a gas station for some grub, Nick tells Jonah he doesn't want to chase Nomad anymore. He wants to focus on Haley's story now, which really ticks Jonah off. The three of them spend a few days hitting up any tourist spots they come across on their trip. When they stop at a gas station next, Nick heads in to grab a coffee, giving Haley a moment to chat with Jonah privately. She checks with Jonah to see if Nick has mentioned her choice to move, but Jonah just says Nick's pretty upset and doesn't want to get caught up in their drama. Just then, Nick steps out holding the coffee, but he stumbles and ends up on the floor. His buddies sprint over to check on him, but Nick promises he's okay, and heads back in to grab another cup of joe. Haley chases him down to tell him she wants to help, even though she knows Nick can handle it on his own. But Nick still keeps giving her the cold shoulder. When Nick gets back to the car with coffee, he tells Jonah he's had a change of heart and actually wants to chase after Nomad. He also realizes Haley's not around anymore and starts hunting for her and finds her chilling by the cliff. Haley figures out that Nick is about to dump her and doesn't know why. So Nick explains he's about to be wheelchair-bound and doesn't want to slow her down. Haley's really bummed because she figured their bond was tighter, so she tosses the necklace he gave her before heading back to the car. Once they hit the road again, Haley tells the boys she's coming along to help nab Nomad. By the time they get to Nomad's place, it's already dark. His house, just an old place smack dab in the countryside. The guys start thinking maybe the IP was a fake, and they tell Haley to chill in the car while they head in, cameras prepped to capture it all. There's a beat-up chair and a deserted car near a spooky tree outside, and inside it's pretty much the same with loads of filthy, broken furniture. Nick ventures further into the house and suddenly realizes he's all by himself, so he starts searching for Jonah, who's just chilling in a corner chair. Nick starts to freak out and moves in closer, but Jonah just spins around to pull a scare prank on him. Then the guys head down to the basement and stumble upon a load of old dusty computer servers. Suddenly, Haley lets out a scream and the boys rush outside. They find the car door open, but Haley's nowhere to be found. The radio is acting all weird, and you can hear some sounds from the forest, including Haley's heavy breathing. The guys chase her, but just then they see Haley drifting off before a bright light knocks them out cold. A bit later, Nick finds himself in what looks like a super clean basement, with just a hospital dress and a blanket over his legs. Some guy in a full-body protective suit is wheeling him around in a wheelchair. Nick's feeling all woozy and stuck, just watching as they cart him off to some office to meet this guy, Doctor Damon, who's taping their conversation and jotting down notes. Damon doesn't spill the beans about where he is and won't let Nick ring his folks, but he does let on that they've crossed paths with an alien, which is why he's decked out in a hazmat suit. He doesn't want to catch anything funky. Damon is curious about when Nick first saw the signal, but Nick isn't having any of it, and insists on knowing where his buddies are. Instead of replying, Damon quickly goes to check on him. But it looks like Nick only has a bloody nose. So, Nick's chilling in his room, right? And he finds out he's got 23541 inked on his arm, and dude, he can't even feel his legs. He's stuck, 'cause the door's locked and he can't get out unless they come for him. But hey, there's a keypad he could use to get out if he can crack the password. The guys in the hazmat suits frequently take Nick out of his room to run a lot of tests on him. While moving around, Nick gets to have a look into other rooms, which are either vacant or being tidied up after something gross went down in there. Nick finds Haley in one of the many rooms, but the guys won't let him in. Next up, Nick gets hauled off to Damon again. He tries to get the okay to see Haley, but Damon's not having any of it. Then they start asking some strange questions to check his identity, like if Nick is from Earth and if he has 10 toes. Then he's curious about the signal the friends were chasing. Nick figures he's talking about Nomad, so he spills the beans about the whole hacker situation. So Damon rolls in with this video. The guys recorded while they were checking out the house. And guess what? It shows an alien just chilling on a tree. So Nomad was never actually a human. Later, when Nick is in his room, he's so upset that he can't even eat. Out of the blue, he hears someone shout his name. It's Jonah, chatting with him through the air vents that link their rooms. Jonah wasn't clued in on much and didn't even catch a glimpse of Haley. But he did mention he's not feeling too hot. Sadly, Jonah has to end the chat quickly before they get caught. When Nick meets up with David again, he's asked to do a simple test that's all about shapes, colors, and numbers. Nick wraps it up fast, sassing them for treating him this way, and insists on seeing Haley, else he's not playing along anymore. Damon shows Nick where Haley's room is, but they don't go in. Her file is totally blank 'cause she's in a coma. But Damon reassures him that the moment she wakes up, Nick's gonna be the first one she sees. Nick heads back to his room, dead set on figuring out a way to bust out. He begins by tossing bits of cracker onto the keypad, so he can see which buttons the workers push. He also chats with Jonah through the vent, and together they figure out the facility's strict timetable, which runs like clockwork. Jonah seems sadder each day, and he admits to Nick that he can't feel his arms ever since they made him drink something strange. One night, over in another part of the lab, the staff are doing some weird experiment on a cow, just pushing buttons to get it all riled up. All of a sudden, the lights cut off, and a voice from the alarm system says someone broke in. All the employees start hustling to fix the problem, which makes Nick sneak off to the bathroom. But they spot him and drag him to an office to sit tight until everything is sorted out. When they step outside, Nick spots burn marks on the hallway walls. At his next hangout with Damon, Nick really wants to know what went down in the hallway and insists on seeing Jonah. He's aware the staff likely saw him chatting with Jonah through the air vent thanks to their security cameras, so covering it up is pointless. But Damon is clueless about what's going on. The doctor said Jonah was never at the place. Nick doesn't want to accept it, but when he gets back to his room, he can't hear Jonah through the vent anymore. Nick finally decides to go through with his plan after losing Jonah. One day, the staff finds the room empty, and under the bed sheets, there's a map Nick had drawn of the place, so he could remember the timetable and the keypad password. So Nick's got it all figured out now, and he's hustling down the hallway, lugging Haley's bed behind him to make a break for it. He times it just right to avoid the workers around every corner and finally makes it to the exit, but then he sees he can't get to the keypad. Nick can't move his legs, so he tries to hit the buttons with his 4-tube. Just as luck, the alarm starts blaring, and the workers catch Nick red-handed. Nick suddenly faints and has a dream about the good old days with Haley, and when they used to run marathons together. When he comes to, he realizes he's in a room with Haley, who's also woken up. Haley, in tears, tells Nick she had a dream about him winning the nationals. They try to hold hands, but the workers yank them away from each other. When Haley passes out again, Nick fights but can't break free from the guys holding him, and ends up on the floor, That's when he sees some strange marks on his hands. When he glances down, he's stunned to see that his real legs have been swapped out for high-tech fake ones. Nick starts freaking out, and after making sure all is good under his boxers, he tries to get up, but stumbles. Damon is on the other side of the mirror, saying that this is why they didn't spill the beans earlier. They needed to wait until Nick was ready. Ignoring any reasons, Nick wraps a blanket around his legs so he doesn't have to see the metal, and then wrecks the entire room. Then he puts his new legs to work, boots down the door, and makes a run for it with Haley once more. Now that he's mobile, he just smacks anyone trying to hold him back with his crutch, and he doesn't hesitate to kick down any doors blocking his way either. Nick, along with Haley, just barely makes it to the elevator where Damon meets them. Damon tells Nick it's super risky for him outside, and he'll be safe only if he stays inside. Nick is curious about what he's saying, but the elevator doors shut before he can find out. Just a bit later, the pair are sneaking out of the place through a gluey tunnel. Once they finally get outside, Haley's up and about again, and they manage to snag a ride from some old woman. She seems pretty chill, but the way she talks is kind of freaky, like she isn't all there in the head. She even pulls over to listen to the birds, just standing there with her mouth wide open. The woman drops the kids off at a roadside diner, and Nick tells Haley to chill in the truck while he heads in to make a phone call. Good thing no one said anything about Nick's outfit when he walked in, but it was a waste of time trying to use the phone since it was busted. Out of nowhere, Nick hears the truck taking off with Haley in it, and he quickly finds out why. The TV's saying Nick and Haley have busted out, and if anyone spots them, they should turn them in to the cops. Nick gets desperate and starts chasing the truck. He makes it to the window but gets smacked by the door when the trucker tries to shove him off. When the driver hits the gas, Nick simply uses his new legs to keep pace. No sweat. The truck driver is scratching his head, figuring out his next move, when he suddenly hears a sound nearby. Haley's the one who's found the guy's gun, and she's using it to get him to stop. The couple gets back together and ditches the driver, taking off in the truck. At the same time, Damon and his crew are also outside, searching for the kids. They bump into this old woman first, and they haul her back to their place to ask her some questions. But when the woman won't stop talking crazy, Damon decides to use a gun to put her out of her misery. So the teens find out the road they were on is a dead end, which is crazy because it seems like it just vanished in the blink of an eye. They whip the truck back around and try another route, but before long it feels like they're just going round in circles, passing the same spots again and again. So they end up stopping at a visitor center, hoping to find some hints, but their phones are still useless and all the documents are just about nature. The only map they stumble upon is a huge model that's super confusing because it doesn't line up with the roads they just drove on. Haley doesn't look too good, so Nick thinks they should stay the night. So Damon and his crew now have time to track them down, and the pair has to skedaddle farther into the building to stay hidden. They freak out when they bump into someone in a hazmat suit, but it's just Jonah, who was in the building like Nick guessed. He managed to sneak out by wearing the suit to blend in. While the guys are covering the area, Damon heads over to see the guy running the center, who's spouting gibberish just like the old woman. Damon confesses he's intrigued by the guy, but he still pops a cap in him before he scoops a flopped fish back into its tank. At the visitor center, Haley dozes off, and Nick finds out she's got some sort of gadget stuck to her back. Jonah says he believes they're in Area 51 because the numbers on their tattoos total up to 51. Nothing seems real here. The roads are all whack, and the folks around here act strange, which makes Jonah think they're in some sort of government lab where they're being tested on. Nick scored some new legs, and Jonah, well, he got his arms swapped out for fake ones too. The only route they've got is blocked by a military checkpoint, so the three of them purposely drive up to it the next morning. Jonah attempts to pass off as a worker by wearing a hazmat suit, but the military isn't fooled, and they corner the truck. Right away, Jonah slams a soldier with the truck door, grabs his gun, and uses it to keep the other soldiers away. Then he rushes into the closest building. So, Jonah attempts to reveal everything on a computer, but his chunky metal fingers just can't hit the keys properly. Just then, the soldiers chuck a grenade in through the window, and the whole place blows up. Nick believes Jonah's gone for good, but surprise, he's not. So he takes off to catch up with his buddies. A soldier gets a shot off at Jonah, and Nick rushes over to help. But a beaten-down Jonah tells Nick to take off with Haley and let him handle the rest. That's his final request. Nick and Haley get away in the truck, and Jonah starts smashing everything around him with his new fake arms, even the road, to keep the soldiers from getting too close. Just a bit later, Nick and Haley are trying to cross the only bridge over the canyon, but Damon and his crew are blocking the way. They start shooting at the tires, which causes the truck to crash. Nick starts remembering bits of his past life before collapsing. Haley then shows him that she's kept the necklace and tells him she loves him. The staff at the facility drag Haley off, and Damon walks up to Nick to say that he's the best mix of human and alien tech they've ever created. Nick glances at him and it finally clicks. Damon, spelled backwards, is Nomad, the hacker they've been chatting with this whole time. Damon backs this up and reminds Nick that he was the one who first reached out to the hacker. Nick, angry and heartbroken, finally gets riled up enough to use his legs at full strength. He sprints across the bridge super fast until he runs into a wall you can't see, but he busts through it in no time. Nick is totally surprised when he finds out he's been in space this whole time. Damon's actually an alien robot, and all those Earth places were just part of a fake world. Turns out, they're on a spaceship with the same number as Nick's tattoo, 23541, and it's getting ready to land on a weird alien planet. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more incredible stories like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. I'll be back with another video soon.